The real T7 camper is coming. And now, I know what you're probably thinking. You're probably picturing this. And that's where there's been so much confusion and debate, calling it the T7. But by now, you've seen absolutely loads of these. But there is a new one. And it's not the Ford Volkswagen collaboration van. This one has a VW engine. Now, I personally do like the new Transporter. It has grown on me over time. But we're not talking about that today. We are talking about the real T7. Well, when I say real T7, the one which was shown on the original Volkswagen website as being the T7 Multivan. I'm really excited about this van. And yeah, I do know that long-term viewers of the channel will say, "Oh, Steve, you're always excited about campervans." But I am. And this one, there is reason to be. And I'll go into detail as to exactly why. Now, Volkswagen has just announced this. Well, when I say announced, it's actually confidential documents, which I'm not allowed to see. So I haven't seen them, but I have heard. Anyway, they've announced that there's going to be a new platform for converters to build on. And it's a van that people have actually asked for. You know, we've seen the factory California Beach, the California Ocean, which are great vehicles built on this same premium multivan platform. But people at the time when they've seen them said, why doesn't anybody else, build a campervan on this multivan chassis? And to be quite honest with you, the reason is really simple. And like I've always said, it is down to the cost. The multivan is a premium passenger vehicle. It comes from the factory with, various different seat options, your plush carpets, your interior panels. Now, a converter would have to pay for all that when they bought, the multivan. And then once they've done that, they're just going to chuck it all in the skip because they don't need it. I'm sure that they'll probably try and sell it, but I'm not quite sure whether they would be able to. The Transporter, on the other hand, generally starts life as an empty panel van, and that's what makes it perfect. It's that cost-effective starting point, albeit, before you say it, not as cheap as they used to be. That panel van, that base van, the Transporter, which people were building from, it's doubled in the last 10 years. Anyway, regardless of that, using the multivan, it was just too expensive. Until now. That has all changed, or it's about to change, because Volkswagen's releasing this new variant, a cost-effective shell, specifically for converters to be used as a starting point. But this new shell does come with some big benefits. Now, the first big thing is the swivels, factory swivels. With the Ford-based Transporter, there isn't any of these. So converters at the moment, they've got to use aftermarket ones. Rib tends to be the swivels of choice, and a lot of converters have actually tested them in chassis. But this new Campervan donor, it does come with factory swivels, and that is a big tick to start with. And trust me, for an M1 type approved converter, having that already done is a big hurdle already hurdled. And secondly, comes with the pop-top roof, which has been already installed at the Volkswagen factory. Again, saving the converter the headache of the testing. And more importantly, you already know that the van's structural integrity hasn't been compromised because somebody's cut out an aftermarket roof. It's been done right and strengthened properly from the Volkswagen factory. And for those who aren't familiar with what the multivan actually is, this is the Volkswagen MQB platform, which has been offered with a Volkswagen diesel engine, and it's mated to a 7-speed DSG gearbox. There's also going to be a petrol hybrid for motion, the all-wheel drive, and again, that's going to be automatic also. But this is where something really, really exciting comes in, and that is that the fact that that hybrid variant has got a 19.7 lithium-ion traction battery. So if these clever converters are able to utilise that to fuel the camping needs, it really will be amazing. An induction hob, air fryer, electric heating maybe, like that van which I showed you at the NEC show. And this is going to be built in the long version. I think they call it the long wheelbase, but it's just essentially a long overhang. And it's going to come with the tailgate. So you've got twin captains and a tailgate. But it's not all going to be plain sailing. Not all converters are going to be opting for this new platform because there's still a lot of work to do. It's not going to be a complete vehicle. They're going to be needing to make holes for the various different components. The bed needs to be fitted, and then all the other parts behind the scenes that you don't see. You know, insulation, fixings, wiring, maybe gas pipes if you're using gas, and then other parts which, you know, aren't normally visible. This new camper will need type approval. You know, this is an M1 vehicle, a passenger car. Now, most conversions on the aftermarket just start life as an N1 goods vehicle, but converting an M1 platform means that that finished campervan has got to go through a full, rather complex type approval process. And this is a huge expense. You know, that is an expensive hurdle, and it's going to likely stop a lot of converters from doing it. But the second hurdle, and that's going to be what bed system is going to be used, because this is a brand new chassis, and other than the factory VW seat, nothing has been crash tested in it. So for full type approval, which bed is going to be chosen? And you know, because this is a brand new chassis, how easy is it going to be to actually get a donor chassis to be crash tested? It's a rather destructive process, and it costs tens and tens of thousands of pounds. It isn't a cheap exercise to do it properly. And because of that, that means that it isn't going to be for all converters. But I still personally think that it's a really exciting development, and I really do hope that, you know, a lot of people will take the project on. You know, this is what the VW purists have been waiting for. It's all VW. The engines are VW. You know, this is an opportunity for converters to build a true rival to the factory California, but fix the things that people complain about. You know, like I've said many times before, I love the twin slider, and this one has twin sliding doors. You know, it's going to make some fascinating design choices. That 3-zone living compartments, which the California has, you know, it can be completely re-envisaged. You could have a kitchen that slides out on either side. It's a blank canvas, a fresh canvas, can open up lots of new designs. It's a chance for converters, like I said, to address those comments. Like, it's only got a single burner. Do they go for a twin burner? Or maybe none at all, or maybe non-internal. Do they fit it out with lots of storage? You know, I'll leave that to you, because I want your opinion. Is this a campervan which you've been waiting for? Is it something which you're going to be interested in? And if you was, would you buy the diesel, or would you go for that hybrid, that 4Motion petrol with the big battery to be charging, using that traction battery to be powering all your devices? How would you design the interior, especially with those twin sliders? Would you have that full kitchen? And also, what do you think of the size of it? A new campervan is always exciting, and I look forward to hearing your thoughts in the comments. And if you haven't seen any of my other videos on amazing campervans, then you can have a look at those here. Thanks for watching, take care, and I hope to see you soon.